Hello, how's everybody doing? Let me know how volumes are. I'm using VLC. If it's too loud, let me know. I know that sometimes I speak softly. But, hello. Today I'm going to be doing some prototype game development. Prototyping means really quick and dirty, so don't expect any like super advanced architectural programming masterpiece here, but I already have an idea, like a genre for a game from Top Donor from last month. I'm already sort of have a basic idea of what I'm going to get into, so let's just take a look at yeah, right. Wearing my how you doing? Wearing my Holidays for All tie, handmade by a friend. See a little bit of everything in there. It's pretty cool. How you doing today, Funky? What's up? We're in the Matrix? Yeah, exactly. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so I'll be doing Unity development because Unity is very quick and easy to get a lot of stuff done. So it's a natural choice for me in most cases. I'm gonna like school my urge to keep looking left where the chat is, but I guess I'll have to. How are you guys doing today? How you doing, Romany? In the Matrix. Alright, so I've got like basically nothing here. I want to show you guys nothing up my sleeve except for like a couple little scripts, and these are just here to facilitate some slight, interactivity from you guys. So the idea is I'm going to start building this thing, and then as soon as I have something that's even remotely playable, I'm going to put it up on my new website, thebarkingotter.com/something, which I haven't decided yet what the /something's going to be. But I'm good. Glad to hear it. It's cold and rainy. It rained last night, but I think it's about time. So, it needs to happen. Anyways, I'll put it up online. If you guys are on a PC, for sure you can play it. If you are on a mobile and you're interested in playing, let me know. It takes a little extra work to get touch input going, but I can do it. Kind of interested in just seeing how far I can take the sort of cross-platform aspect there. But yeah, so let's so as far as what the game is, last month in November I put out a little bit of an incentive to get people donating, and the incentive was top 3 donators would get to suggest a game for me to do this. My camera should be down a little. No, that's as good as it gets. Anyway, so the idea that was put forth was a tower defense sort of variant, and I'm going to start with the tower defense part because I think that part is where we can get the most fun quickest. But then there's going to be some extra features, and I believe the idea is it's a multiplayer tower defense game. Everyone has their own lane that they can build towers into. But then, yo, how's it going? Correct me if I'm wrong here. Cecil and Kane is the guy behind this idea, but it's a tower defense game. Everyone has their own lane, multiple players, and then in addition to building towers of your own, you're also like going over and sending enemies to the next guy in the row. So everyone's attacking the next player. So it's like a combination of defense and offense. So I nicknamed it aggressive defense because I'm bad at naming, and that's the best thing I can come up with. But anyways, here I am. We've just got these really simple scripts, and I could just kind of show you how they work so far. Let me know if like I go too fast or I skip over something or whatever. But like as far as the input controller, it is just here to yes. The input controller is where I can enter in the different buttons that are going to be in the game. So for starters, we could do things like camera movement. So I'll call this camera up, down. I don't remember if spaces are a problem, so I'm just going to do it without spaces. And then like the positive key name would be, if I press this particular key, I'm going to move the screen. I guess it would be right, because right is usually considered positive. So let's put I'm thinking WASD for moving the camera around, and then you'll use the mouse for most of the other interaction. So let's go with D here. And then negative would be to move left, so that's going to be A. I think that the rect is fine. Oh my gosh. We got a subscription. Why no noise? Why no noise? I don't know why there's no sound there. But hey, thanks, my dude. Thank you, Cecil and Kane. You are incredibly awesome. You are incredibly awesome. Maybe a little close-up thing. You're so cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. You're awesome. You're the best. Now I gotta figure out. Now there's the part of me that's like, why was there no sound? But that's okay. I'll worry about that later. Anyways, setting up camera up. I called it up-down, but I was thinking left-right. Sometimes some people would just call that camera horizontal, but I don't really like that name as much. And then we can add another input, and I can call that one up-down. And so that would be W to go up, to move, sort of pan the camera up, and S to move down. And I think probably to keep this simple at first, I will probably just do like a straight up and down camera. So that's the first thing I'm going to sort of get set up. But I wanted to just show you what it does when I add entries over here. And I hit play. With Unity, you can hit play anytime, and you just kind of jump in. It's a little bit slow these days, but like there's a little bit of like build-up time that you have to give it, but it's usually not too bad. So the two scripts that I wrote, one was to input or have the like input entries, and the other one was to create this little debug menu that you guys will have access to, which is not perfect, but you can sort of open and close it. So when you do start getting builds, you can play around with the keys and sort of adjust them to your liking. If you decide you want to put like arrow keys instead of WASD or something, you can do that here, which is pretty handy. So those are basically the two scripts that I have. Alright, so first thing I always do when making any kind of 3D game is I create the floor. So I just create a little cube, and I'm renaming it floor now, and I just kind of want to stretch it out. It's going to be our floor. And then after that, I want to sort of adjust the camera, because it's obviously looking at more of a horizontal angle. So let's adjust that to be pointing more downward. And that just means putting in a 90-degree angle on one of these things. Yeah, it's honestly a lot easier to make stuff in Unity and probably a lot of game engines if it's 3D. It'll be like 2.5D, but I can choose between perspective and orthographic view, which means that we can get rid of the sort of vanishing point effect that you get in perspective. That seems like it's going to look better. But anyways, got to figure out sort of and adjust, like find a good height to put the camera at. But you know, we're kind of just spitballing right now, so let's just put it at, say, 10. Usually all this stuff is in meters. And then the other thing that I want to do pretty early on here is add in some interesting materials, because it's going to be kind of hard to really judge distance and things like that with a plain material on the ground, on the ground plane as I call it. So I'm going to throw in some standard assets here. These are like all the things that I've gotten over the years. I don't know why it's always hard for me to find it. Let's look up standard. If I could spell, that would help. Standard. Here we go. I just need to re-import that. And it comes with kind of a lot of stuff. Like I probably won't import most of it, but there's other things that I probably will find useful. First thing being like a grid material that I can just throw on the floor without having to worry about making it or anything like that. Unity for many years was like really fast to do pretty much everything. Nowadays you gotta wait for a minute or so with a lot of operations, but even then it's still, you know, got a lot going for it. So when you import a package, usually there's all kinds of stuff. I like to just peek and make sure that I'm not getting a bunch of stuff that I don't really need. If I was smart, I would have done this ahead of time. Unity is good. Unity is good. It has a lot of competition from Unreal, and I think Unreal is kind of edging them out lately, because Unreal, like Unity invented the free model basically, the model where you can get the engine and use it for free as long as you don't make a ton of money. You only have to pay if you make a lot of money. I think it's like 100,000 or something. So they invented that, but then Unreal, which is made by Epic, who makes Fortnite and all that, they sort of copied that model, and they do a lot of things a little bit better than Unity. Unity's easier to learn, I would say, but it doesn't look as pretty, and there's a lot of sort of more advanced areas where it's not as good. I don't think I'm going to go 2D. Do I really need camera stuff? Probably not. I need characters? Maybe. Cross-platform, I'm definitely keeping editor stuff. I don't know if I need any of that. Effects, maybe. Environment? No, I don't think I need trees and stuff. Fonts, no. Particle systems, maybe. Particles and stuff? Sure, why not? Prototyping, yes. Utility. I don't know what any of this stuff is, so let's skip it. And then vehicles, let's say no. Put that stuff. Yeah, I definitely say Unity has a bright future. I still love it. I still like it better than Unreal. Unreal's kind of hard to figure out what you're doing.
Thank you. We're working on it.
Playing some old school overclocked remix from like 2001. Kinda just wanted to try out playing it in VLC. Getting the hardest thing to figure out is what music can I play and how do I need to properly attribute the artists and stuff. So I figured I would just copy the VLC, like the artist thing at the very bottom there. Alright, so we got some errors, which is always fun. Hyper namespace utility does not just assembly reference. Oh, geez, okay. I think I already pulled in some stuff that I didn't when I was running my test. And it sounds like it's in the characters section and the particle system sections, so probably what I'll do is just kill those folders, because I just don't want to mess with a bunch of errors. Ah, that's an interesting idea. Adding some... Yeah, right. Interesting twist to do timing, so it would be like everyone gets their own turn, or everyone maybe even goes simultaneously. That'd be cool. Right? Well, if this was Warcraft, you said it was Warcraft 3? Did they even have menus? Because usually back in StarCraft days, you were just stepping on beacons. That was the whole thing. Was there were no menus. You would just move like a peon around, step on things. Anyways, let's grab this material from here. So the navy blue grid. So now at least we can kind of get an idea of scale as we're looking around things. Cool, cool, cool. Makes sense. And then we can sort of, we can actually do a couple things. If we want to do orthographic view, then really all we have to do there is set the size. So I make a, like, increase this number to get more of a broad view of things, maybe. What, 15? 18? Trying to find the sweet spot here. 16? 15. Let's just see how this goes. It's not perfect, but it's something. Alright, so now... yeah, exactly. Okay, so then the thing that I want to do is start hooking up some inputs so we can kind of play around, even with simple stuff. And everything is very much script-driven in Unity, so I'm going to go with camera control, let's call it. And the way that you typically want to do things in Unity, you're going to create a different script for each kind of function or like mechanic that you're adding. You can put multiple mechanics into the same script together, but then it becomes less versatile because you can't just sort of pick and choose individual parts from the script. That's good. Like each individual script can be attached to one game object at a time. So if you do just one thing in a script, then it means you can sort of put that single thing as many places as you want. Where if you put multiple things together, then you're sort of limited by where it makes sense to do that, I guess. So most programming is done in C# in Unity and through Visual Studio, typically. I'll just find my scripts. So, what I want to do here is usually where I get started is I'll think about what are the little bits and pieces that I want to start allowing you guys and myself, I guess, to like customize as we go. And so basically I'm going to attach the script I just created over here to the camera, and if I want to, if I just set up a couple of variables, then we'll start to see little customizable controls here under the camera control script entry. Things like, what is the name of the input axis that we're using, what is the sensitivity of moving the camera, and anything else we might be able to think of. Do I know how to write JavaScript? Yeah, I've written some JavaScript. I wrote ActionScript, which is basically an extension of JavaScript for a long time. So yeah, I could do that stuff. I've sort of thought about it. Maybe a time will come when I want to mess with that. But anyways, like if I do something like serialize field string being like the computer science word for a word or a phrase, and then I say, let's call it input left right name, and by default we can always give it a default value, so I called it camera left right, I think, since that's what I went with. I might as well start there. So as soon as you add serialize field, and serialize here means make it possible to save the choice that the developer makes into a file when you save the scene. That's basically what serializing means. So this tag here just says that this variable that we just created is something that will get written and saved, and therefore when the user or the developer like changes it, they can expect that information to stay saved. And then here I'm just saying that it's a string, and I'm giving it a name, and sort of not following my own typical conventions, variables lowercase. And then here's the value that I'm going to give it. So once I do that and I save it and I switch back, Unity takes a second to notice that I made a change, to compile it up, and then you can see that that field appears right here. So you kind of want to do that a lot in Unity, where you just think about what the customizable controls are that you want. And I just hit Control D to duplicate a line, so that's kind of a nice little trick. But I think what I want to do, actually, is I'm just thinking about this, and part of what I like to do is to build up sort of utilities as I go. So instead of doing everything like one chunk at a time, if I notice that I'm about to do something a couple times the same way, I'll build a little script to do that instead. So let's call this input mapping, and I'll explain it and I'll show you how to write it. I just realized I was about to do something like this, where I then also serialize some float values. Floats are floating point numbers. They're just numbers that can have decimal values. And I was going to call it let's call it left-right sensitivity. And I don't really know what value makes sense here. So I just usually start with the 1.0, and then up-down sensitivity as well. And obviously this one goes together with this, and this one goes together. That. So because I've got a string and a float that I'm pairing together, then it makes sense to me to actually create like a little mini script to sort of define that pairing and give it a name. And I can do that in another script, and I can just call it input mapping. Let's make it a struct for reasons I won't get into unless anyone really wants to know. Making it system serializable here means that it is one of those things that can also appear in this window, which we call the inspector. And it's going to be really simple. It just needs to have serialize field, a string, whoops. In fact, you know what? Let's make it public. Seems fine. Public just means that other scripts can access it, which will be useful in a minute. Let's call it axis name, and then public string, or no, public float sensitivity. So now that I create that, instead of having a total of 4 variables here, I can just sort of take that back a little bit, and then just create one for up and down. I'll call it private input mapping, because I'm just using this name that I used over here, and call it left, right input, and then I'll do the same thing except up, down input. And so I'm basically doing the job of 4 variables, but now with only 2, and it feels a little bit nicer. Right? Right? Getting a little technical on you. Didn't say I wasn't gonna. Copying assembly failed. Cool. I have no idea what that means. Oh, I think it's because I put this in Dropbox. Dropbox is always gonna give me a hard time, isn't it? That might have been a bad choice, but that's okay. Just turn off the syncing on that. Copying assembly. Okay, let's do a little test here to see if I need to move the project. I usually put things in Dropbox because then I know that they're backed up, and if something happens, it's fine. Okay, cool. We can always just sort of tell it to re-import stuff if it needs to. So anyway, going back to the camera, I have the script here. Now I have this nice little drop-down. I can say, okay, this one's camera, left, right, and then sensitivity will start with 1, like I said, and then camera, up, down, sensitivity 1. It won't do anything yet. We're just sort of setting the groundwork here still at this point. One thing I will add to my struct here is there's a little function we call a constructor, which is just a nice way. Actually, I don't know if I need it. I haven't used C# in a minute, so it could be that I don't need it, because I think I might be able to just do something like this. Camera, left, right, comma 1.0f. Does that work? Semicolon. Do I do equals input mapping? Like that? We don't like that. Identifier expected. Okay. We have to say sensitivity equals. Say axis name equals. Nope, doesn't like that. Non-existent parent context. Okay, that's fine. I'll just do it the way that I know. Yeah, just a little funky function. Okay, so input mapping. Basically, I'm just going to write a little function to be able to enter in this information in line like I did with my earlier variables over there. Float six. Let's call it sense. I'll be doing a couple things here that are just, like I said, quick and dirty. But it's just sort of providing a way. I did that wrong. Sensitivity, sense. Providing a way for passing in these bits of information over here. So I just actually, now I'm wondering, maybe all I was missing was the word new. Sensitivity. Here it is. That's alright. We already did the work now anyway. Boom. Oh, I didn't make it public. Put the word public everywhere. Gotta remember to do that. There we go. Alright, so I can do the same thing here. Equals new input mapping. Camera up, down. F. And the whole idea, again, behind this is just, these are default values. So when I attach the script for the first time back in Unity, come on, Unity. Like if I were to take this and say, let's say that I wanted to move the floor the same way or something. Maybe I just drag that over and it automatically has those values. I can always adjust them after. I can change these to other things, but I don't need to default be blank like they were before. Now let's add some simple scripts here. Hello, dude DJK2, how you doing? Next level stuff, is it? I think I'm starting off pretty basic, to be honest. But I know, it's basic for me. Do we teach this? I used to teach this. I wouldn't jump in the way that I'm doing right now, but I've definitely taught all of these components before. There's no default for a lot of stuff in Unity. Like, the best that they do is they'll give you, like, templates and stuff. But I don't usually want to use any of that, because it's always, like, a little bit off from what I want, so I feel a lot better just writing my own. Well, dude, you know, there's schools for this stuff. Welcome to the stream, by the way. Feel free to drop a follow. I feel like I want to do this more often. I've been doing a lot of just gameplay for a while. I also have something in the back of my head, which is like, thanks for the follow, I appreciate it. Welcome in. What was I gonna say? Sometimes I just lose my train of thought entirely. It's not just gonna work for camera, because, you know, I started off with the idea of, let's write a script for moving the camera, but then I realized maybe I could just put it on other stuff later, so there's no real reason why this has to be just for the camera. So now my thoughts are, why don't I rename this to something else? Call it simple movement or something like that. Oh, that's too bad. I kind of hear about teachers that are like that. Or like, I guess more like schools that are like that. Because I mean, I am a teacher. And I like to think that our school does stuff well. But I hear about teachers at other places that are like, okay, here's what you gotta do, but then they don't really teach you all the little nitty-gritty details. I definitely like to be err on the side of like over-explaining everything, so probably what I'll be doing today. But anyways, rename that script to simple movement. Now it's just called simple movement here. Now I'm not sure that I necessarily want to default every attachment of the script to the camera sort of thing. Yeah, YouTube tutorials. Yeah, I don't want my students to have to do that stuff. I think it's kind of lame in a way to expect that stuff. But anyways, that's just me. Yeah, this is C#. Unity is still pretty heavily C# right now. So anyways, I've got I started adding a function here, and I can zoom in a little bit. I only zoom out when I'm like trying to show things side by side and stuff. Yeah, C#. Awake is sort of a magical function for Unity, and that's when you see this word Unity message, this phrase right here, that's Visual Studio telling me that it recognizes that this is one of those, I call them magic functions or event functions because, you know, you just have to memorize the name of them. And the idea with Awake is that it gets called once at the very beginning. I might not actually end up using it. I sort of just put it in by habit. The one that we're going to find most useful here is going to be Update. Update gets called once per frame, and I'll even add those as comments. Anything you put after slashes is a comment. It doesn't actually take effect. It's just for like writing yourself notes. So called once at the beginning of the scene / upon creation, I'll say. And then Update is called once at the beginning of every frame, typically 60 times a second. So a lot of input stuff happens in Update because you want to constantly be listening for the user to start pressing keys and stop pressing keys and stuff like that. So this is where I need to sort of interface with this other script. And I wrote this ahead of time. I actually did this on my last project because I wanted a way, like I said, I mean I showed you guys earlier, but I wanted a way to get input while being able to, what's the word, like show you guys that debug panel where you can modify some of the settings yourself and stuff. Benefit in using comments is you remind yourself what you're doing, but it's also for other people who might look at your code. When I'm teaching, I write them mostly for the audience, but when you're in a team, you definitely want to write comments to explain what you're doing to other people. Have been the end of many attempts at code stealing, really? It's funny. A lot of times I'll have a comment at the top that says, "This is my property, do not take," or whatever, so maybe that's what you mean. But I don't want to dig too deeply into how this script over here works, but I can give you at least, I guess, an overview of everything. And you might notice that I don't really comment my own work when I'm just writing for myself. Like a watermark. Yeah, you could say that. But what I've got going on over here is basically a script that you enter in a string for the name of an input, and then you enter in the names of keys, and then you can call this function down here, getAxis. You say, hey, I want to know what the value is based on what the user is currently pressing. And the idea with an input axis is you think of not necessarily every kind of input, but a lot of kinds of input as having a negative and a positive. For example, if we're moving something, like a character around, going forward and back is like a sort of a spectrum, right? Like what you call it? An axis. I mean, that's really the word for it, where you've got like a series of ranges. You've got 0 in the middle, you've got 1 or positive infinity in front, you've got negative numbers in the back. That's the idea, is that input, instead of being just I press this button or I don't, it sort of can glide between the two values a little bit. Yeah, I just started to add a raffle and see if people might be interested in doing this more. So if you are into this stuff, if you have fun today, be sure to follow. Maybe donate to the charity a little bit or spend some bits or whatever, but you know, I'm gonna be asking you guys for input, whether you win the raffle or not, so you can kind of participate. I think there's also a bit or not a bit, like a channel reward point thing for it. So you can hang around too if you want to just earn points. Anyways, what I got to do here, and this is how I usually do it when I'm teaching, is like I'll write out in pseudocode what I'm doing. Get the current input by polling the two axes, and then apply the input, or I guess we're going to actually multiply the input by sensitivity values, and then apply scaled value to... do this with a rigid body? Maybe I do. Maybe I want to... yeah, apply scaled value to rigid body velocity. I'll show you the easy way, actually. I'll show you the transform version first. So what we're going to do, and I'll just show you kind of what it'll look like. Here, if we were to grab the camera, you can see these little arrows, and if I were to grab one of those and just sort of pull it back and forth, that's basically what I'm doing for one axis, and then this for the other axis. And transform is the name of this transform is the name of this component over here that every game object just sort of has built in, and that's why it's the easy version, because you can just directly modify the numbers. Like I could just pull X here up and down, and you can see it kind of having the same effect. Linear algebra is hard. I don't really use it often. You can do a lot of stuff with just basic physics. That's how I usually think of stuff. But anyways, let's get the input, and so I'm just kind of calling out to this function right here. So I'll say float left right input equals, and I just use input controller dot get axis down here, and then get axis wants a string, and I'm just going to pass it in the input name that I gave it up top. So it's left right input dot input name, or axis name, I think I call it. Name? Did I not call it that? Where are you fighting? Local variable left right input. Oh, I called it exactly the same thing. Okay. I was like, why is that not good? Left right. I'll just call it left right, I guess. I struggle with naming a lot, where I'm like, what do I really want to call this thing? And ultimately, it matters a lot less than some other things. But anyways, so I'm just pulling the string that gets plugged into this guy, which we saw was happening in the inspector. And then I'm passing it over to this function over here, which uses its internal logic to kind of figure out what user buttons are being pressed and stuff like that. And then over here, I'm just going to multiply those values by their sensitivity. So left right times equals left right input dot sensitivity. If you guys recall, we added that sensitivity variable to this thing over here. And I'll just do the same with up down. Inputs. And then all we're going to do for now, Visual Studio, I'm in 2019 right now. It has a lot of good debugging and usability benefits over 2017, so I do recommend it. I'm using the community version though. At work I get the full pro version, but it doesn't really add anything that I think is important. Anyways, to transfer all that information over here to the transform, it's a fairly simple... I haven't tried 2020. I don't think I even realized it was out yet. I was gonna say, like, 2020 in general is a bit bugged, right? Yeah. So we can just say transform dot position dot x plus equals left right. Although, okay, I'm sort of remembering now because it's sort of been a while since I did Unity stuff very often. But you actually have to do this in 3 steps. You have to pull out the current position, modify the position, put the new position back in. F5 tells you to configure. Yeah, I mean, Visual Studio can be tricky to set up if you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, I guess you said you're working on Arduino, so does that mean you're doing C or C++ or something? Because I do that stuff too, but I only know like my particular ways of setting things up, so it could be that maybe there's a configuration issue. Like, obviously I don't know, but that's usually what it is for me. So anyways, we want to grab the position, which is in the form of vector 3, which is just like a 3-part number. And I can call this new position. I'm going to grab that from the transform.position, and then I need to modify it, new position.x plus equals left right. Excuse me. Right? Yeah. Visual Studio. Yeah, it's not just Visual Studio 2020, it's all of 2020. New position dot. I think we're gonna want Z, because X is sideways, Z is forward and back usually, and then Y is up and down, so we're gonna skip Y. Maybe we'll add like a zoom feature later. This time.delta time thing, by the way, is used to scale the amount of movement based on your current frame rate. If I don't do this, then it doesn't matter if I'm running at 60 frames a second or 10 frames a second, I'm going to move the same every frame. So the guy who's running his computer at 60 frames a second will move his camera 60 times faster than the guy who's running it at 10 frames a second. So just multiplying by delta time says remove that scaling effect that you would see, and instead the guy who moves is running at 60 frames a second will move the camera 60 times slower per frame, but, or no, 6 times lower, I guess. But that will scale up proportionally to your frame rate, so it sort of evens things out. And then we just have to plug it back in. So I say transform.position equals new position. And I used to use the analogy that we're like pulling out a piece of the vehicle, like a piece of the engine, doing some work on it, and then plugging it back in. Basically what we're doing. It's sort of just the way that Unity and C# have things set up. Right? The guy on a quantum computer? Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter how fast he's going. It'll scale. So, I put it on the floor, I think. Let's get rid of it, because that's going to be really confusing. Got it on the camera. Got left, right, got up, down. Sensitivity is 1. We're going to see if that sensitivity is good. Probably is going to be pretty low. Pressing the up key. You can see it moving very slowly. Down key, left key, right key, right? Okay, so it works, but like I said, it's very, very slow. So that's what these sensitivity values are for. So I just need to sort of scale these a little bit. Let's try 10 in each direction. So it should go 10 times faster now. Okay, that's much more reasonable. And the whole idea behind this whole setup is that I can give you the ability to kind of tweak this, so when I create a build for you, even though there's not much going on yet, I can create a build for you relatively soon and you'll be able to sort of play with it and see what feels good. All I have to do is a couple of things, and now I'm going to sort of use this GUI controller script. GUI stands for Graphical User Interface. And this one's relatively simple as well, but the idea behind it is that it will sort of receive all of the little panels that I want to create and draw them onto the screen the way that I need them to. So that's what I'm going to need awake for, is I'm going to say GUI, actually, hang on, hang tight. I need to first add something up here, GUI drawable. This right here signals that it's okay to draw this thing that I'm writing. We need to create art assets. I'm going to skip that entirely. I don't really mess with that. I mean, if we had a ton of extra time at the end, I would do it, but I'm not going to probably have any time. iGUI drawable. Why are you upset? Movement. Oh, right. Once I do this, I have to kind of fulfill a contract which says I need to have this function draw GUI. Which I'll come to obviously in a minute. Like it defaults to throwing an exception, which means that like it'll run an error if I actually try to call the function, but I'm providing that function as a way of saying, hey, when you tell me to draw, this is what I'm going to do. For now, I'm just going to talk to the GUI controller and add drawable myself. So add this script to the drawing script, I guess. Or you know what I should do probably is on enable. It's better than on awake. Let me actually leave this because I'm sure I'll use it. Private void on enable. On enable is nice because you can actually turn on and off game objects. You know, I think I should move my to the right. gonna miss a little bit. I'll worry about that later. Not gonna worry about it right now. But this will turn on called every time you turn this object on, and then I'll do a similar thing for on disable, which will undo the effect. And it will be removing the drawable. Remove this script while it's inactive. And I think that's it. I think that's all I need to do to be able to see the debug panel start to take shape. Scratch that, I actually have to draw stuff. Draw the debug panel. What is it? Ooh, what is it returning? I don't actually even remember. It returns a boolean, means a true false value. If draw GUI return. I sort of don't remember. This is what comments are for, by the way. It's like, here's me looking at this, and I wrote this maybe 2 months ago, and I'm like, what? What did I do with this? I'm guessing that this is allows early exit if something goes wrong, which just means that if one of these functions that I'm going to be writing returns a true, then it will exit out and not draw the rest of the stuff. I think I did that probably for the input mapping, or the input controller. I'm guessing. I don't actually know. I don't remember. So generally speaking, I'll return false, meaning prevents early exit from drawing script. Okay, but we're gonna do something like this. Private bool. Yeah, sure. True, I've heard that, right? Private bool show debug panel is false. I'm just setting up a boolean here. Boolean's true false, so that I can have a little toggle to show the panel. So say if, or no, let's say debug panel, show debug panel equals GUI layout dot toggle show debug panel. What's it gonna say? It's gonna say simple movement on, and I'm actually gonna have it also print the name of the game object. And so this right here draws a checkbox on the screen. And then I'll say if show debug panel. And then we'll have a bunch of other stuff. But for now, let's just show you what that looks like. This is the problem with being more on the programming side and less on the design side, is I sometimes will overdo things. Even though I started out by saying I'll do quick and dirty. I'm probably going to be overdoing things a little bit. But anyways, now you can see two options up here. Earlier we looked at the input menu, which we can still mess with, but we can also now toggle this other menu, which doesn't do anything yet, but it will in a minute, because I haven't actually told it what to draw. But the idea behind this is to be able to adjust certain things like sensitivity up here. And that's really the main thing that I want to do, is draw controls for adjusting camera movement sensitivity or object movement sensitivity. So, this is usually the format that you do with this. You have variable equals GUI layout dot draw thing variable. Something along those lines. So in this case, the things I'm messing with are input left, right. Alright, take it easy, dude. Thanks for coming by. Hope to see you again sometime. Left, right, input dot sensitivity equals GUI layout. I think it was, okay, is it float? Sometimes you can do like a slider. Yeah, okay, here we go. Horizontal slider. So with this I can say, let's draw a slider. You can actually pull it back and forth, or I think you can also type in the number, maybe, I'm not sure actually. And let's go anywhere between 1 and let's say 100. Maybe that's a reasonable like upper limit. Or no, sorry, it should be sensitivity first, then the 1, then the 100. Sorry, left input, left right input, dot sensitivity. So I don't want to put it here. For sure, right? Like, yeah, having to read other people's code without the comments is painful.
Thank you.
Before that, I've got to do a GUI layout.label. Labels are just for drawing like simple text, and so I could say left, right, movement, sensitivity. Then I'll kind of just do the same things again for up, down. Sensitivity here and here. And like this draw GUI stuff is totally debugging only. I would not need to do this in an actual game, because usually with the game you're handing it to a player. They don't need to adjust the game usually in the same way that I like to be able to do it while I'm debugging. Alright, so now we've got this. And so right now moving up and down has got a sensitivity of 10, but if I want to I can pull it up a little bit. Now I can go a lot faster. That's the whole point, is to give you guys the ability to kind of adjust these things in real time as you go through. Cool. What do you guys think so far? Seems neat, I hope. I feel like a value of maybe about 20 is better. And actually what I like to do is not... I think. I guess I want to do like a little bit of horizontal alignment here. Outland Urban Interface. I don't know what that is. Pardon my ignorance. But that's cool. GUI layout dot end horizontal. This right here just sort of allows it to draw a few things side by side, where normally GUI layout is just going to stack everything vertically. So with that, I can actually add in the like typable version of it. Instead of having to use the slider, now you can also type the number if you want to. Or at least you will be able to, I should say. Not yet, but soon. I don't even remember what it's called. Is it text field? Jeez. That sounds rough. The text area, is it really? I'm sort of surprised that they don't have just a plain old number field. I guess I'll have to just go with text field. The problem is text field always comes in the form of a string, so I have to convince it that it's actually a number. So I gotta say, turn this into a float. Left, right, input, dot sensitivity, dot to string, and I also have to convert it to a string on the other side too. Sorry, I'm actually not sure if I'm getting this right. Text field, string, text. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. That's all I need. You seem very upset. Why are you upset? Cannot convert type string to float. Yes? I guess I have to look that up. C# string to float. I forget how to use this. Float.parse. Okay. Every language has their own little quirks. This is the sort of thing that I'm always having to look up. Okay, so this is going to take the string that gets entered in and parse it out. So I just need to sort of copy that stuff, probably just overwrite the whole thing, and just switch it up again. Not seeing the Robert drop tables. Let's check it out. Well, you know what? I'll save that for when we have to build, because it takes a minute. I guess I'll pull it up. I'll have XKCD though. So let's run it. Make sure it doesn't look like hot garbage. It does look like hot garbage. Like there's no space here. Okay. I think what I need to do is modify my GUI controller a little bit. Need to give it more space for sure. How do I do that? I don't exactly remember how to. I have to like horizontal slider, GUI layout options, GUI layout option dot. Okay. This is where our reference material will be very helpful. Unity scripting reference GUI layout. Music's already getting a little repetitive. Let me switch it up. Back one sec. What do you guys feel like listening to? Lo-fi, holiday, and I'm not gonna do it. Synthwave. Not feeling that right now. Chill EDM. Let's do that. Let's see how this goes. Alright, I need to figure out what it wants from me on horizontal slider. Optional list of layout option property. Gotta roll bar. You muted? Very quiet. You guys even hear that? I can barely hear it. What do we got? What do we got? Style. This is not what I need. GUI layout option. Okay, GUI layout dot minimum width. Do that. Let's go with a minimum width of, I don't know what value is, 40. True. I mean, do I do this? Possibly. I kind of like rewriting things because I feel like I do it better every time. A lot of this, yeah, that's actually seems decent. You can sort of adjust it or you can type in a number because I like having both options. Would I do this in real practice in a studio? Probably not. But for something like this, I don't mind it too much. Yeah, I realize I've spent almost an hour on it. But we'll pick up speed. We will. Okay, so now what I think I want to do is start dealing with the camera cursor and stuff like that. A script here for camera. Let's call it, yeah, camera cursor. Projector. First thing I want to do is create like a camera shadow. And there's I'm sure a lot of ways to do that, but the one that I like blob light projector. I don't know if I want to do a light or a shadow, but let's try it with a light. Where are you looking? You're looking sideways. Let's turn that. There we go. So this little light right here will follow us around. And we could probably do a lot better than that. But at least it's something to kind of indicate where the camera is looking right now. But what I want to do is make it a little bit grid-based. Because that feels right. Maybe it doesn't have to, but I feel like I want grid-based action here. Or you know what? Maybe not. Maybe I'll skip it. Yeah, maybe I will skip it for now, because that doesn't seem like a super critical thing. So maybe that's just going to be blank script for now. But let's see. What I do want to do is start being able to click somewhere and build something. You guys as subscribers, by the way, are already in the raffle, so you're good to go. But yeah. I want to be able to click and build something in a particular location. You know what? I don't even realize, I'm realizing now, I don't even know if I need, oh, it's okay, we'll turn it off. I want to click somewhere to build, so maybe I'll write a little click to spawn script. Spawn to plane is probably not the right way to name it. But the idea is to click on something and be able to start building stuff. So for now, it'll just be like a box probably. But first thing I want to do is have a place to plug in the thing that we're going to spawn. Spawn prefab equals null. And so let's just do this. Boy, do I want to wake? What do I need to do here? I need to just have mostly update stuff, I would say. Private void update. Definitely gonna need to have an input again, so private string input name. It's left click, or what do they call it? Is it mouse 1? I can't remember what they call this stuff. Project settings. Pops up this massive window over here. Input manager. They have some built-in stuff. Okay, they call it Fire 1. Sure. Let's call it Fire 1. Or maybe I'll just call it whatever I want. I don't know what I want it to be called. Just leave it blank. Private void update. Okay, this is where it gets a little bit messy because what we have to do is figure out where the mouse cursor is, and then like figure out where to put something based on that. I'm actually going to rename this because it's not so much spawning to plane, it's spawn at mouse, spawn at cursor. Already like third guessed myself, spawn at cursor. I'm already confusing it. On at cursor. Because the way you write the code is going to be very different if you're doing it based on a cursor versus something else. Yeah. Okay. So there's actually a series of steps here. It's probably not very easy to like line them up, so I'll probably just write the code because it's natural enough for me. But you have to figure out where the cursor is. And that's actually simple enough. You just do input.mouse position. Then, actually before I even do that, let's do this. If input controller dot get axis input name is greater than 0, meaning if we pressed the positive button, whatever that is. Because we don't have to be doing this constantly. We only need to do it when we click. This is here to make sure that we click, or whatever. Because we could set it up to be on a key later. Vector 3 current. Yeah, so get the mouse position and then draw a ray through it. So ray at cursor position equals. I do need to tell it which camera to use. what do I call this? Viewport camera. And I'm going to write a little simple function here. Reset is a cool one because it gets called when you attach a script. And it's a nice utility for being able to fill in things like these null object references up here. Viewport camera equals camera.main. This here right here will look up the main camera, which is what we call this and has a special tag main camera. But anyways, ray at cursor position equals viewport camera dot screen point to ray cursor position. Draw a ray through the cursor's position. And then what we do is we take that ray and we see what it hits on the other side. Since that's pretty much always going to be the ground plane, at least it should be the ground plane, then that's where we're going to end up putting the cube or whatever it is that we're building. So if physics.raycast ray at cursor position actually we have to create a raycast hit result. Make a flowchart? Sometimes. I don't know. The way my brain works is I don't necessarily do that stuff a lot. I think if there's something really complicated, I might do it. I've spent a lot of time sort of rehashing the same kinds of things and teaching the same kinds of things, so I think I do it less because it's all somewhat familiar to me after having done it enough. Pass through the ray and see what gets hit. So basically the object that we hit, we can now identify what it is, but more importantly the position where we hit. This would be the world position under cursor. It's going to be hit result dot hit point, or is it just point? Yeah, okay. So then what we're going to do is this will be like an object that we assign ahead of time, and that's what's going to get created there. But to keep things really simple, if this is null, I want to just create a cube, and that's what I'm going to start with. So let's create another function here. Private void spawn at position vector 3 world position. So I'll just call that here. The idea here is that if I happen to click on dead space and there's nothing there, then it doesn't do any of this stuff. It'll just sort of skip and not actually spawn anything, which makes sense. Down here I'll say if spawn prefab is null, then we can use a little trick, which is GameObject.create primitive primitive type dot cube. However, I need to keep track of the cube. So this will create a cube. I think I also specify where. No, I guess I don't. I do that in separate steps. So create a cube. Now I need to tell it where to go. Cube.transform.position equals world position. Place cube. But even before I do that, I'm going to do one little thing, which is to remove the collider. Cube dot, or no, what is it going to be? Is it destroy? Destroy cube dot get components collider. Remove the collider from the cube, because what you're going to notice if I don't do that is I'll start to build cubes on top of each other. Maybe that's a cool mechanic that we could add at some point, but for now I just want to have every cube to kind of slap itself to the plane. Otherwise what we'll do is something different, but we'll figure that out in a minute. So this is constantly check for input and spawn stuff. under cursor. And this one down here is spawn prefab if it exists, or a cube if it doesn't. And a prefab is just a sort of Unity term for, hey, let's create an object ahead of time and you're just going to make copies of that object. So if I attach that to this, automatically finds the camera. That's what my reset function does. There's no prefab, so I don't really have anything to put there. But I'll put, what do I want to call this? Build? It's called the build key. So we're just going to use the name build here, but we have to also go to our input controller and add that to this list. So we're going to do build. It's going to be, I think it's mouse 1. I could be wrong. There's like a list of these things that I have to remember. Unity input names. Is it Unity key names? There's a page somewhere that has a super massive list of the names. Freaking Unity, user manual, input. Oh, okay, here we go. Naming conventions, function keys, full access. Oh, because it doesn't really tell me what to do with mouse. Oh well, I guess we'll find out in a second. All right. Nope. Input key named mouse1 is unknown. I have to kind of come in here, and maybe I'll just do something else for now. Let's do Q. Okay. So apparently he's just gonna keep going crazy. Going nuts. All right, cool. I don't think I fully accounted for this kind of input. I might have to adjust my script a little bit. I think it just sort of went crazy. The control. Bear with me a minute here, doing some hot debugging. Access thing, get it. That value is updated here. Get key. Okay. Okay, I should be able to do this relatively simply. Public static bool get key up. String, or no, I guess it would be get button up. String access name. Some quick output here. Return false. So if the access name matches, then return input.get button up access dot name. Whoops, 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 whoops. Else we're gonna return, or no, we're gonna have debug log error. Return false. There we go. So basically I just added a new function here that would be for more of the press a button and go, rather than holding a button down, which is what input .get access or get access is really meant to do more. So now I can switch to my other script. This one, And instead of get axis, I'll use get button up. Which tells me, did I just release that button this frame? Definitely more what I'm looking. While we are at it, let's go in here and change this away from mouse 1. Wish I knew what it was. No. But Q. We're going to stick with Q. We're going to hit Q to build. You guys can mess with that later once I start builds and stuff. Input key named blank is unknown. That's cool. What are you saying? Input button build is set up. Oh, right. Yeah, okay. Dumb mistake. This is not get button up. This will be get key up. That. Nope, still doesn't know what I'm talking about. What is happening? Build input key named build is unknown. Input key named blank is unknown. Oh, right. It doesn't like having no key for negative. That's fine. Fix that. I just have to account for leaving a key empty. So if it's not empty, then we'll check it. Which seems right. Probably screwing up the whole show here. Alright, still got some problem here. Input key named build is unknown. Still checking that constantly. I'm not sure why. Getting this message. Input key name build is unknown. Input.get key up string name. I probably wrote this wrong. Line 91. Right, it shouldn't be axis name, it should be axis positive key name. That's what I want. It was looking for the word build instead of like it was looking for a key name to build instead of a key name Q. There we go, much better. What do you guys think? Make it a little better. Let's do something else here. Let's add serialize field private vector 3 scale. Transform.local scale equals scale. Now we can scale things up and down too. And so I'm going to add this to my debug panel system here. So GUI drawable. Yes. Hit magic buttons, add function. Go. Perfect. That's where I want it. Then we'll add in a wake, or on enable rather. As before, GUI controller dot add this. Then on disable, GUI controller dot remove drawable this. And then kind of like before, some of this I'm realizing I'm kind of rehashing over. Show debug panel is false. I need to find slightly better ways to do a couple of these things. I can actually copy a lot over from simple movement. That stuff right here is going to be identical. This would be spawn at cursor. And I don't think I need to print the name on that. if you're showing the panel, then what do we want? We want to add scale. I think that's probably the only thing. So it'll look a bit like going over here. So this will actually be X scale. This will be scale dot X. Let's go down as low as 0.1 this time. Maybe as high as like 10. Reasonable. Scale dot X here and here. And do that for Y and for Z as well. Y scale. Z. I was about to use like Dreamweaver hotkeys there for a second. Upload. Control Shift U, upload. Alright, sound. Here we got this now. If I hit Z, or no, it was Q, I'll build. But if I want to scale up a little bit, I can do, let's say, twice as big in every axis. Bigger. So you can kind of play around with that if you want to. Camera controls are still in place, so we're good there. Definitely need to add some constraints to things. Not going to worry about it too much. Input string was not in a correct format. Yeah, did something wrong there. That's fine. Let's get a build up so you guys can start to see it. Give me a sec here. I need to add the scene. Let's not sample scene. Let's call it something else. Sandbox. I like sandbox. Alright, sandbox goes here. Make a little build. Switch it to WebGL. This is the part that's going to take a couple of minutes because I think the first time that you do this, it just takes some time. Meanwhile, check out. Waits of a mom. Hey, this is your son's school. We're having some computer trouble. Oh dear, did he break something? In a way, really name your son proper drop tables. Yes, little Bobby tables. Good old Bobby tables. This is good. This is definitely like IT humor right here. But basically, if you use strings of certain formats, you can use that as like an attack on a system if they don't properly check for if your strings follow those formats. So basically this is a MySQL query that says, hey, if you find a certain table called students, just delete the entire thing. So, you know, just sort of delete it. Alright, no reference exception. I'm gonna do a build. So let's find a place to put you. Okay, and that process is going to take a couple more minutes as well. Exactly, serves them right. Alright, I'll have this open over here. So I was thinking about this. I was wondering if I should, like, is there a game that I should play while it's doing this? Because this could take a few minutes, it could take 5 minutes. I don't actually know for sure how long it'll be. So I could do other stuff too. Like I can keep going in here and sort of cleaning this up. Suppose what I could do is define a couple of modes. Minesweeper, right? Look at that. Funny. Should put this over here. I think I'll probably actually just try to keep making a little progress. Minesweeper could be fun. Let's do this. Let's do public enum mode under mouse, comma, center of screen. Because there's another way we could do this. There's a game that I've played called the Defense Grid, where you move the mouse and it actually moves the whole camera, and you're really targeting the center of the screen. So instead of being under the mouse, you could just always do the center of the screen. If we do that, not sure where I would put it. I guess I'll put it here. Serialized field, private, mode, spawn mode, equals spawn mode dot under mouse. No, it's just mode. Just call it mode. And the difference would be that if we are doing the center of the screen version, this code ends up looking a bit different. So probably we'll write a couple of separate functions here. Private void spawn under mouse, or let's do raycast under mouse. Sort of cut this stuff and put it over here. And this one up here will say switch. Take a look at the mode. And if it's in mode dot under mouse, then raycast under the mouse. But if mode is center of screen, oh, you know what? Still going. I wonder if I should actually do this a little bit different. Yeah, I think I will. I'm gonna cut this up even more. Private void raycast at position, raycast at screen position, let's say. Or raycast. Ray. Like that. So it'd be ray. Yeah, okay, here's my thinking. Ray, screen ray equals this. This is actually going to return array. And so we'll return array. Alright, you know what? I could just probably return that. Sort of breaking things up a little bit so that there's less redundancy. It's always in the back of my head. I don't want to have a lot of copying and pasting going on, even though I'm doing a ton of that down here. I'd rather, I mean, I'm fine with it in the debug area, because this is all just debug only stuff, but for the final code, I like to try to at least make it a little bit neater. Let's do screen ray equals raycast center of screen. Ends up being very similar, so I will copy and paste it, but I'll modify it. Let's do vector3 center of screen. Center of screen. Break. Center of screen is actually vector3 or new vector3. 0.5f, 0.5f. Oh man, anyone else having that issue? Is that on my end? I don't think it's telling me I'm having too many dropped frames or anything. Yeah, it's only dropped like 480. So that's not too bad. But yeah, let me know if anyone else is having that problem. This one would be, what do they call it? Viewport point, I think? Yeah. Center of screen. done, we raycast the ray. So it'll sort of carry it through to the end. Still waiting. But yeah, I was just sort of cleaning things up while I waited here anyway. Okay, I'm thinking of other ways that I can improve things a little bit while we're waiting. Probably what I will do is graduate this from an interface to a full-on base class. And then there's going to be certain things that I'm going to do. So let's make this a public abstract class. It's going to have virtual void on enable, which will be this, and then virtual void on disable. I'm unhappy. I guess I should inherit from mono behavior. It's valuable. Function is called when the object becomes enabled and active. Virtual or abstract members cannot be private. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay, and then I'll have private bool show debug. It's false. Draw GUI or draw panel toggle. Hang on, I'm trying to think of how to properly do this. I suppose I could do protected. Virtual void toggle. Okay. Good to hear. You guys are getting delay. I asked that a few minutes ago. If you're getting a delay, you can try refreshing too. That man, it seems like it wants to take forever. 8.5 minutes so far, huh? Trying to think of how I want to handle this. Yes. And I'm gonna want a string here. Serialize field. Private string. No, it should be protected. Protected string. Maybe it can be private. Private string debug panel label. So we're just going to kind of copy this. Make this a bool. Return show debug panel. So I called it. Here I'll say if click abstract bool draw GUI. If drawable dot toggle or draw toggle. Okay, this is gonna have to be public. Still waiting. This compile WebAssembly module. I can keep it here. Nope, guess I can't. That didn't work. Okay, I swear it didn't take this long when I did my testing. Panel toggle. And that, does that work? Okay. Okay, gotcha. If draw panel, yeah, I want to do each check in. Oh, maybe that's fine. Maybe that is what I want. Just trying to simplify the logic a bit here. What are you guys up to this weekend, by the way? Any cool plans besides hanging out with me? Oh, drawing the panel. It's not drawing the panel, then we're killing it? No, that's wrong. It's not quite right. Yeah, let's do a separate check. Hello, Mr. Mertman. How you doing, my dude? I'm feeling pretty good. Just waiting for Unity to take forever, apparently. Writing some code, man. Writing some code. Alright, so you guys will finally start to see something. So, I finally created a build. Here it is. And now all I have to do is kind of copy that into Dreamweaver. And add it to the website so you guys can play it. There's not really much super exciting going on, but if you want to wait and check it out, bear with us here. What's a good name for this game? Aggressive Defense. Now I'll call it Tower Defense Remix. No, that's a terrible name. ED Plus. There we go. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm just going to copy all this stuff over, upload it to the website, and you guys can go to this URL. I'll tell you when it's ready. Do a test actually. Okay. Let's see. thebarkingotter.com/TD+. Does nothing. Okay, cool. What did I mess up? Interesting. Upload resource server responded with a status of 404. Must pass blah blah blah. It seems all like normal stuff. Okay. Nothing is happening. Why is nothing happening? Cool. This is unfortunate. Let's do it again. Upload. Putting files. It did seem like it went too fast. Maybe I didn't upload everything. Nice. Alright, let's see if this does better. Here we go. This is what you guys should be able to see. Okay. So make sure it works. Okay, cool. Q. I like how the material is suddenly hot pink. That's fun. Make sure that simple things still work. 2. Boom. Alright, cool. Let's throw that into chat. If you guys want, you can check it out. Some stuff that could be cool to hear from you is like what values feel good as far as sensitivity on the camera, scale, things like that. Let me know if you have any issues with it for sure as well. In the meantime, create a new command here. Game link. Here's the game I am making / last made on stream. Tower Wars. Yeah, that'd be good. I like that. Change it. And let's throw in here game link auto. What's up, Koran? How you gameplay? Alright, so you should be able to get in there, use WASD to move around, move your cursor and hit Q to add the blocks. If you don't like the inputs, don't like the buttons, this is actually really ugly. I should probably fix this and make it less ugly. But you can go into the input, edit input settings menu up here. You can kind of adjust any of this stuff. If you don't like the key presses, you can change them. What's up? I just put the link. I'm adding a little fancy, what you call it, kajigger. We're doing like a tower defense sort of thing, kind of, sort of. It has yet to really be a game at all, but feel free to check it out if you want to see it. Yeah. Oh yeah, skipped frames due to encoding lag, 14,000. Let me know if you guys are still getting like weird delay and stuff. It's on my end. I'll see what I can do, but honestly, sure. Excuse me. All right, now I broke a bunch of stuff, so now I have to go in here and fix all the stuff that I broke. So we don't really need these anymore. Screen ray is what I called it here. This has to be, what can you do? You can check out that link. If you're at your PC, my dude, check out the link and tell me what you think. It's like right now it's just the moving camera placing boxes game, but we'll get there. We'll get there. I think that I can just sort of kill a bunch of this stuff. Try it on mobile too, but I don't expect you can move the camera. If you do want to try on mobile, let me see if I can figure out a trick that you could use. Unity input key name for left mouse button. Keypad 0. Mouse 0. Okay, mouse 0. Input string key name for left mouse button. Seems like a thing that should be easy. Right? Nice. Nice. Cool. Not a lot going on still. But maybe what we could do is see if we can get some kind of enemies at least pathing around those boxes and stuff. Here we go. This seems like a handy thing. Where's the mouse? Show me the mouse. Backspace, delete, unlock. You are not a comprehensive list. Here we go. Mouse 0. Okay, so there's a space that I was missing. Alright, so you might be able to go into the input menu. I've got all kinds of stuff broken. And try typing in mouse 0 for the left click if you want to try that. I think that might work on a phone. I haven't really had much chance to test on a phone, but I think that might work. In fact, I guess I can test it myself, can't I? Can't I? That's the magic. The barking on. Called it TD dash. Got a lot of tower defense gamers in the house today. Certainly played my fair share. Go to the queue. Oh no, it's not going to do mobile input, is it? Yeah, that kind of stinks. That might put a bit of a damper. Alright, I know what I'll do. I want to make this playable on phone if I can, so it shouldn't take too long. Screen ray could be no. List of unassigned. Yeah, you don't like that. New ray. Cool. Alright. Let's see. I need to also go over here. Our redrawable. Get rid of stuff. Oh, right. This and cut on top of that. Sorry, I'm probably going to talk to myself for a couple minutes here while I fix things. Hope you guys are all doing great. This is public virtual bool. Bool. Why are you unhappy? Bonnet cursor does not implement raw GUI, but it does. Rides inherited public virtual bool. Oh right, I use override instead. This is C# after all. Always have to remember the specific rules of whatever language I'm using. Spend too much time switching languages, it gets. Let's see. Okay, so let's see if that at least compiles. That would be great. TD Wars, I kind of like that better. I'll probably rename the site next time I put the build up. Clear, clear, clear. Class simple movement cannot have multiple base classes. I'm pretty sure I fixed that. Okay, you just need a minute. Computer needs a minute to catch up to us here. Import something. Cannot have multiple base classes. This I know. Yes, that's what I was thinking. So next thing I'm going to do is put walls to like create a lane, and then have them start spawning and run. So you can start to create little mazes and things. Hey, why? Sometimes Unity and Visual Studio get out of sync. I think that might be what's happening here. So let's open up simple movement again. Yep, I knew it. So I don't know why it does this, but sometimes I'll start changing stuff and I'll be saving it and everything, and it's like, no, I'm not gonna keep that. I'm not gonna keep that. I don't know why it does that. Kind of sad, really. Save. Oh, what? I just lost a ton of work. Where did it all go? Oh, that's so frustrating. Huh. Now I'm just confused. I'm so mad that I just lost several minutes. That's fine. That's fine. You know what? Not gonna worry about it. We're just gonna leave it. It's cool. We're gonna switch that back. Actually, we're just gonna leave it as it is. Make it an interface. We're just gonna move on with our lives. We're gonna forget that that ever happened. Except now I can't forget that it happened. Okay, hang on. And show debug panel. What a mess. All right, if no, this was what was it? Same. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Oh, really? Hate it, man. Messed up. That might be okay. Let's try that. And destroy does not exist in the current context. Sure. What are you talking about? Okay, I know. Mono behavior. Sad, you guys, when you lose work. Sad. She's trying to game the system. That's hilarious. Okay, I know what to do. I know how I want to handle mobile input. You guys can tell me if this works or not. But let's do private bool enable touch. This is all Unity. This is all C#, which is Unity's language choice. Enable, touch enabled. Or should I call it touch mode? Yeah, let's do touch mode. It's false. Touch mode equals GUI layout dot toggle. Oops. touch mode. Enable touch mode. Oh, this should also be spawn at cursor. Yeah, this is all C#, which is, I don't know, some people like it. I kind of like it, but other people say it's an overly complicated language for sort of stuff that you're trying to do sometimes, which is, I guess, fair. Mode. Yeah, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn on touch mode, and in touch mode, we're just going to change the way we do input. Which is going to happen here. So let's say create a private bool did press input. Say switch, or no, not switch, if touch mode, and Alright, I'm like, I'm starting to overthink. Okay, so if we're in touch mode, we just need to say if return input.get, or touch count is greater than 0. Because if there's even one finger on the screen, then this will be greater than 0. There will be more than one touch, or more than 0 touch. Otherwise, we're going to return this whole mess. Not the if part. Oh no, not that kind of person. Oh, I hate that. That's the worst. I don't get why it's hard to look at the marks on the floor and just follow them. I don't know why that's hard for people. I mean, I'm assuming Costco has those marks. If did press input, then go. Then I think we need to add a third option, which is under touch. Case mode dot under touch. So I have another function here for doing a similar thing, but this time with touch. Sorry, I'm sort of moved from the I'm gonna explain every little thing mode to this is gonna take forever, so if I did that, it would just be really, really, really boring. But you know, I've just got one function for how to handle it with a mouse click. I've got another one for how to handle it with the center of the screen, and this one's gonna be for touch position. So it's gonna be touch, or no, input dot get touch 0 dot position. Yes, go. Alright, I think that'll work. If you pressed input, then based on the input mode, you get input from a different method. I think that'll work. Use typos. You're good, you're good. I don't think I noticed any type. Alright, so do a quick test here if we can. Excuse me. Something broke. I don't think the script even showed up, so that's cool. Simple movements here. We layout toggle. Spawn cursor. I'm confused. What's happening? Sandbox. Sure. Simple movement on main camera. Okay, I don't get why I'm not seeing spawn at cursor. I do get why. Okay, I know why. Bear with me, we're almost there. Thanks guys, by the way, for hanging out and for letting me kind of experiment a little bit. I've been wanting to do this probably for at least a few months, and I was like, there's gonna be so much work involved. I gotta deal with the website, I gotta, you know, figure out how to do half the stuff that I want to do. Mobile stuff was something I was trying to figure out this week, and I just kind of, you know how it goes. You run out of time or you run out of energy to dig into these technical things sometimes. There we go. We switch to touch mode. Probably won't work for me because I'm not actually on a touchscreen. So let's try turning that off. Yeah. Okay. So it won't work for me here, but what I can do is build out a new version. Yes, let's just do a build and run. While I'm doing that, let's switch to the old Minesweeper. Sweeper? I even have Minesweeper? How do I not have Minesweeper? That's really sad. Now I want to cry. Okay. I don't honestly know how long this is going to take, so... yeah, it's an issue. Let me see if I can accomplish this. I was thinking Tetrio as well. Maybe I'll just do a little bit of gaming, you know? If anyone else wants to hop in while I'm doing this, because I'm waiting, let me know. I kind of figured I would just go Zen. Why? Is there really no pause in Zen? Seems silly. I think it already failed, actually. Something failed to build. Let's figure out what happened here. Result of failed. Build exception. Error already exists. I know it exists. Do I really have to, like, manually delete it? You did? That seems really goofy. Why would you not just let me build in the same spot? That seems stupid. Geo. Select. Right? Like, what's up with that? When did Windows decide to get rid of Minesweeper? That's insane. Did they replace it with that dumb pinball game from, like... Nope, that's something entirely different.